Elden Ring Nightreign has been released, and to say the reception is mixed would be putting it lightly. However, I think the game is pretty goddamn good. Now, I would have to be blind to tell you it's the greatest game ever made. It does have some issues that even I don't like, but it's still a very fun game. I want to say this before I go any further though. I've never really dived into the Souls-like genre, never really played any of the prior games. This is kind of my first one, and it has to do with it being a roguelike. So well, what do I think the game does right, and what do I think the game does wrong from a roguelike player's perspective? Well, the first thing is there is no reroll. There could be one, maybe I've missed it in, 30 hours of gameplay, but there's no reroll. It is also madness that there is no communication tools in a multiplayer focus game. The lock-on system in this game can also be pure misery. I don't know if it's like this in the other Souls-like games, but if it is, good thing I haven't played them because I would be bald. The bosses in this game are an actual threat though, which I really enjoy because most roguelike genres struggle with making the boss like an actual threatening experience. Bosses also have mechanics, which I've been asking for in this genre for a very long time, so I'm very happy to see something like that. I also enjoy the relic system. Having these like tiered relics that you swap around with different goblets, character setups and stuff is really neat, and also something I've been waiting to see in the genre for a really long time. Some people have said that these are like kind of useless, but not the ones I've been getting. They're pretty goddamn good, so I don't know about that. However, some of the characters in this game are kind of just not good, and that's unfortunate. It kind of pushes a Iron Eye meta, which is the bow class. If you don't have that on your team, the game feels almost insurmountable sometimes, which is not good. Buff Guardian. I've heard single player is also really tough for X reason. I don't know, I haven't really played it, but I hope it becomes a better experience in the future because I know my friends will get tired of this before I do. So now there is a lot of reuse in this game for bosses and everything pretty much, which isn't a really big problem for me. I've never played Elden Ring or Dark Souls really, so it's not a big problem, but for other people I could see this kind of being annoying. But I've seen developers do this same type of thing and charge way more than $40, and it's still shaped into an entirely new type of game. But now I should explain how a game of Nightreign actually works, how it's structured. This is kind of important for roguelike players. The first day you will land and loot the map. They do change, and there is a bit of randomization there. The ring will slowly constrict into your first boss fight. If you survive that, you will move on to day 2, where the ring refreshes and some other little points are added. As the ring slowly constricts again, you will be led to your second boss. If you survive that, you will move on to day 3, which is your chosen boss from the start of the expedition. One thing that is a bit annoying in this game is the ring really does rush you. In multiplayer lobbies, I have never hit max level. I've come close, but never hit max level. That's a good example of how hard it will rush you. There are also random events that can happen in the world, like the tornado zoned area where you fight copy invaders of other characters. There's also invasions of plagues of locusts that steal your levels. There's more, but this is the footage I have. So the game has random events that spice things up and keep things more interesting, which I like. I also love how destroying bosses unlocks new regions on the map, or they might be tied to the actual expedition that you choose. I'm not sure. This is fairly typical for the roguelike genre. Isaac does it, for example. Also, you have to unlock certain characters like the Duchess and Revenant. The reason I bring up unlocking things is because I've heard this game called content sparse, and I have to disagree there. When there are different goblets for characters, there are different skins for characters, multiple different Night Lords to beat that also change the effects on the map. Not to mention there's 8 characters in total that are all very different. The Night Lords themselves are all different and challenging. Not Augur though. Augur's yeah, pretty bad. One thing that is unfortunate about the Night Lords though is the map itself never changes. It only really changes on phase 2 when like the skybox shifts, but the actual place you fight them in is always the same, which is a bit unfortunate considering it's really tough to close the gap on the giant white dune field as melee. And this is just one of the small things that is enforcing the Iron Eye meta that the game is currently experiencing. But where there's bosses, there's reviving. And this finally gives me an excuse to talk about the resurrection system, which I don't like. How it works is every time you go down, a notch on your 3 bars is filled. Once you've gone down 3 times, your bar is full. Now you might be wondering, how do we actually get that person up? By beating the shit out of them. This combined with the camera problems from before just don't really work very well. The Iron Eye class is once again the best at getting reses. Are you seeing a pattern here? Ults and abilities can also help with getting reses, but some are better than others at getting reses. And I don't know, it just makes me wish that we just picked each other up, like held Y, and you know, the more you go down, the slower it is. I would rather have that than this. It's also unfortunate that there is no crossplay in this game. I really do think that's a missed opportunity. One thing I do think the game does well though are passive effects on weapons. Even if you don't use them, if you put them in your inventory or in your offhand, you still get the effect to use for your run. This helps a lot with build crafting, getting extra perks to do exactly what you want to do for your character. Combine that with the relics, and this might be the most build-heavy roguelike there is, and I really enjoy that. I only wish that there was some way to see my relics that I've chosen in the active run that I am in, though. That would be a nice QOL feature. One thing that's a little strange though is Night Lords all have a different weakness, and it's a status element that you can find out in the world. The funny thing about that is the nature of a roguelike is randomization, and that's no different with this game. So all the structures have different focused loot that they can give you. The problem is sometimes your map, even though you're focusing that Night Lord, will not give you the thing that you need, which is a little bit unfortunate. I would at least like to see one single structure on the map that's guaranteed to be focused for that Night Lord's debuff, especially with how crazy they are. And gentlemen, they did it. They added gambling. Holy. So I've said a lot in a very short amount of time, so a quick summary and then a conclusion. The characters are cool and interesting, but some are better than others. Gambling is a neat addition, and cool skins are free. Map randomization is neat, but there could be a bit more. The res system is abhorrent. I would rather stand in a circle. At least one chance of getting a item for a boss's weakness would be nice. The final boss area is cool, but it's a shame it doesn't change more. Random events are unique and keep the player on their toes. The game needs crossplay and some sort of chat function. I absolutely adore that final bosses have mechanics to them. The targeting system is a bit awkward, but it could be human error. And if there is truly no way to reroll, the game needs one. Overall, I like the game a lot. There are some problems that make the game a little bit unenjoyable, but I do believe it is a diamond in the rough. I've already sunk like 30 hours in the game. I mean, you know, what do you think I was gonna say? I am aware that a lot of players that played this game are unhappy with it because they played the other games, and it makes sense considering how much content is reused. Talking about that content though, the gameplay does feel really nice, and it is also really polished. I haven't really seen a lot of bugs, haven't crashed, and it's like perfect 60 the entire time you're playing, which is nice because considering nowadays in the modern market you can pay full price for a piece of software that doesn't even work. Good to see that the game is playable. And that's it. That's really all I have to say. Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section and tell me how I'm wrong. Also, don't forget to let me know that you beat Consort Radon with a dirty rag and a stick. And if you've stayed around long enough to reach the end of this video, feel free to like and subscribe. I do a lot of roguelike stuff here, so if you're into that sort of thing, we do that here. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you next time.